Hello and welcome to another Council Live Facebook Q&A session. My name's Elizabeth Brennan and I'm the Community Engagement Manager and I'm facilitating the session today. Joining me here today is Melissa Watkins, Director of Development and Environment, and Michael Collins, Senior Project Manager, Infrastructure Project Delivery. Today we're here to talk about the Hastings sporting fields. This is a really exciting and a major project, not just for Wauchope, but for the whole region. We're keen to answer your questions, so please use the Facebook chat section to comment and ask questions, and we'll address them as they come in. Before we start with our questions, I'd like to invite Michael to give you an overview of the project, and then we'll launch into your questions. Over to you, Michael.
Yeah, thanks, Liz. So over the last 3 or 4 years, Council embarked on this project, and we've tried to keep the community as engaged as possible. The last time we met with the community was in March 2018, and since that time, Council's been working hard with our external consultants and a range of stakeholders external to the project to finalise the designs and bring us up to a level where we're at now, which is close to the final detailed design component of the project. We've made a range of changes between the last time we met in March 2018 up until now. There was a community consultation report, a community engagement report, which is still up online on our Have Your Say page, which is available for viewing, which we put up in March 2018. In the back of that, there was a bunch of commitments that Council made off the back of suggestions from local residents and the community to consider as we progress through into the next stages of design. We've looked at all of those opportunities and provided those upgrades where possible. Some of the more notable changes between the last iteration and the current design that we're at the moment is we've moved the northern car park down, portions of the northern car park over to the eastern car park, which is close to the main access off Stony Creek Road, to be able to pull the extent of the works up there away from those residential properties to try to centralise the turf wickets. We've included another smaller amenities block down in the south western corner of the site, and also we've facilitated the acquisition of a property off Randall Street, which has enabled us to provide a small local access to the lower southwestern component of the site, which facilitates more of the community focused elements of the site, being the dog off leash and the playground area. We've also incorporated some reasonable amount of storage on the site as well for a lot of the different sporting clubs and facilities that we envisage this facility to cater for, noting that that is a concern of a lot of the clubs that of the current facilities that we have. And there's some other numerous smaller changes which we've made in relation to the project based on the community feedback we've had to date.
Fantastic.
In terms of the project generally, I'll go through a couple of the general parameters of the project or inclusions of the facility. So the facility has been designed to cater for both local, weekend, weekday training, night games, as well as major events that we'd be looking to attract to the region, being a regional growth area and a bit of a sporting hub within New South Wales. There's as you can see from the plans that we've released, there's a multitude of sporting codes that can fit on these fields. We've made them large enough to be able to cater for fields as large as AFL on these areas, and also have designed them to ensure that they don't conflict with each other in terms of the summer and the winter sports. There's ample car parking for the majority of weekend and larger events, but we obviously don't design for the major events that we'd be looking to attract. Otherwise, there wouldn't be enough space left over for fields. There's around 600 odd car spaces with around 20 disabled car spaces as well, scattered around the site. There's a proposed grandstand on the western side of the Premier field there in the middle, which is proposed to be the centrepiece of the entire facility, and where we'd be attracting some of those more major games that we are looking to attract as well. There's an indoor sporting facility as well, which will be able to cater for a range of sports on a most likely synthetic flooring on a concrete slab rather than sprung timber, for example, with offices and things in there as well. So we've not proceeded with the designs of those at this stage yet, so they're still subject to further design and further approvals. And they're very much at a strategic level at the moment. But we have allowed space, obviously, to enable those to be incorporated into the site as we progress through with development, and obviously subject to funding and things like that. There's also, in terms of community facilities, because obviously this is looking at not only sporting uses, but also for being a great community facility as well. There's over 2 kilometres of shared path, which is made up of a perimeter concrete footpath, being around about 2.5 to 3 metres wide, through and around the site, to be able to provide a lot of off-road walking and cycling, dog walking facilities and opportunities for the public as well, and provides good connectivity through into the town centre via a new footpath proposed along the Oxy Highway at the front of Mitre 10, and then also up Princess Avenue up to Roxferry Road, which will connect into the link along the river and Roxferry Road. So incorporating those popular tourist destinations and accesses. There's a playground, as I mentioned earlier, as well, down in the southwestern corner, as well as a dog off-leash area with connecting footpaths to other fields, so that there's opportunities for families and things to be enjoying those facilities while sporting events are going on as well. You'll also notice the most recent, since the last time we met and we informed the public of the project, there's been an intersection upgrade proposed on the corner of Stony Creek Road and the Oxy Highway, which is a major piece of infrastructure on the Oxy Highway to facilitate the expected increase in vehicles for when the majority of the facility is built out and we've got a large demand on that facility. So we've been in consultation and discussion with our Transport for New South Wales over the last year or two in regards to the design and incorporation of that into their longer term strategy for the Oxy Highway as well. That'll facilitate obviously a change in and a review of speed zones, and Transport for New South Wales is on board with the current designs that we have at this stage for that project.
Fantastic. Did you want to talk through the stages now or later on in the session? Yeah,
definitely. So another component that we've got, that we've addressed since the last time we met as well, was now that we're at a later stage in the design, we're able to really determine which of the elements we would like to build in the different stages, so that we are providing a balance between community and sporting facilities as we release certain sections, and also in accordance with our funding stream as well, and availability of funds for the project. So stage 1, I think they might be bringing it up on screen now, shows as many fields that we can get in basically before we need to upgrade the intersection of Stony Creek Road and the Oxy Highway so the fields that we have there and the demand on that intersection is within the capacity of the current intersection. So then we've also tried to include the community facilities down in the southwestern corner, being the playground and the dog off leash area, and that'll be accessed through the new Randall Street access there.
That we've purchased the property for.
Correct. Stage 2 will then see us build the indoor facility with a little bit extra car parking, and then stage 3 is another major upgrade, which will require some significant funds to develop that stage, being the Premier Field and some additional fields down to the south, as well as some major drainage elements, and then the grandstand would come in stage 4.
Fantastic. Huge project.
Definitely a major project.
Which is generating quite a few questions on Facebook. So would you like to answer some of those?
I'd love to.
Okay. Rebecca has asked, residents' privacy, how are you going to ensure that the noise, light, traffic and visitors do not impact on the residents of the surrounding streets?
That's a great question, and we have been working closely with the residents as the design has progressed as well. We've been meeting with them over the last week or so to discuss their direct concerns as well. As part of the project, we've looked at noise generation from the site. As part of the environmental assessment, we're required to look into the noise generation, how that's impacting residential receivers. Same with light impacts for night games and the lighting that's proposed for the fields, and also traffic generation. So in terms of noise, we've tried to push the fields as far away as possible from the residential areas, while still maintaining as much of the site as possible. There's obviously spectator noise, which is associated with fields. However, majority of the time during the day, we see a lot of our fields utilised mainly after school time. So there's a long period during the day where these fields won't be really generating a lot of noise. Also, the PA systems, there's a lot of detail in that design that's being developed at the moment in terms of minimising the loudness and how far that sound travels as well. So that's being considered. In terms of the light spill, there's a good example on the images that we provided as part of this round of consultation about the recent upgrades that we did at the Oxy Oval in Port Macquarie. And that just shows how well the new lighting options are for us, being LED, how direct they are to the lighting that you want to provide on a field.
That it's not bleeding outside and beyond the area.
That's right. So showing that light spill is very minimal in the newest technology that's available today, which is what we'd be looking to employ on this project. And then in terms of traffic, there's obviously going to be an increase in traffic expected between Stony Creek Road and the Oxy Highway, being the major access there in and out of the site. And that's what we'll be promoting for when we're using the fields. You'll notice an access from Princess Avenue that's not proposed to be open to the public, but it's open for service access for when you've got a little bit more traffic generating through the main access. They'll be able to get in and out to the grandstand, the Centre of Excellence, a lot easier than having to go and follow through the main entrance in there. So that should alleviate issues on Princess Avenue. And the Randall Street access, we don't foresee that as being a major access, and we won't be promoting it as such in major events. It's most likely deemed that one will most likely be closed in a temporary fashion, mainly because of the impact that additional cars will have on the intersection of Randall Street and the Oxy Highway. That's not a great intersection for trying to push a lot of cars in and along there, so we recognise that it's not going to work in a major event.
Yep. We've received some other questions, which is in regards to start dates for construction. So Super Radio Nico and Michael Bulmer have asked questions. So Nick's asked, is there a start date for construction? And probably, I think you'll probably answer this at the same time. And is there a start and anticipated finish date for stage 1?
That's a great question, and one that I'm very keen on as well. There's a lot of demand from and interest from the sporting clubs in the region and beyond as well. So in terms of the current funding that we have available, some people in the community might have already had a look at the operational plan for this year. That has $2 million allocated to this project. Stage 1 is significantly more than the $2 million, closer to the $10 million mark. There's, in terms of completion of the design, we've still got a fair bit of work to do to complete the project, to get it ready for construction. So we're looking towards the end of this year that we'll complete that. So if we're able to facilitate additional funding, then there's an opportunity for an early start date of in the order of April or May next year for stage 1, based on procurement timeframes and things like that. So,
and how long does stage 1 go for? When do you think that would be finished?
Could potentially take up to a year to construct stage 1. There's a fair bit in it.
Yes, definitely. Simon has asked on Facebook, what stage are the plans at? Have consultants been appointed for detailed design as yet?
Yeah, so you'll notice the Cardno image in the bottom of those corners, in the bottom of those plans. So Cardno was appointed by council through a request for tender process, competitive process, back in end of 2017, I think. To complete the concept, the strategic design, the concept, environmental assessment, detailed design, and get it ready for construction. So they have been appointed, and they've been working very hard with us to get to this stage.
We've got another question from Super Radio Nico. He's asking, once it's fully completed, will it mean the closure of the Toughens Lane sporting fields?
Yeah, that's a great question, and one that's been circling ever since we took this project on. The two projects are not related at all. There are issues with Toughens Lane, but this project's definitely a standalone project, which is still required based on the demand that we're seeing within the region.
Fantastic. We've had another question from Rebecca on Facebook, and she's asking, how much is it going to cost ratepayers to clean up after each and every flood event, and what steps are being taken to ensure properties are not flooded as a result of this project? And I know that's been, a question that we spoke about last night as well with some of the residents surrounding the area, concerns about flooding on the site.
Definitely. So obviously everybody would know, who knows the area. This area does flood quite severely in major floods from the Hastings River backing up. It is a storage area and a flood area. There's also quite reasonable local events that affect that site as well. There has been a substantial flooding assessment completed, which is required as part of any development of this scale. For the filling of the site, there's been a lot of work done to make sure that we've got proper infield drainage, stormwater drainage all around the site, to make sure that we can cater for those events and make sure that we can get onto the fields in a short period after those events as well, to make sure we're optimising the use of those fields and getting as much use as we can out of the time that we have. In terms of the impacts to surrounding properties, there's a requirement for us not to impact the flooding levels for neighbouring properties, and our flooding assessment has shown that as well. The way that we've been able to achieve that is by making sure that the cut and fill levels throughout the site balanced to be able to provide detention where we require, to make sure that we're not having adverse impacts to adjacent properties.
Fantastic. Brendan Wood has asked us, wet weather plans, how will the design reduce surface damage when sports are played and also allow sports to continue sooner after wet weather events? Yeah,
so that's a good one that ties straight into the previous question, where we've provided or designed in a lot of infield drainage, which is it helps to get the water away quickly. We've also designed the surface of those playing fields to be able to sheet off the water quickly as well. So that'll definitely aid in being able to get onto those fields as quick as possible after a major event.
Here's one from Ian, which I think he asked earlier on Facebook. Traffic, always a hot topic. Ian's concerned about the impact on the Oxley Highway and what issues will be taken to alleviate the traffic issues. Will there be a duplication of lanes, not just slip lanes?
Yeah, so that one is a little bit more in relation to a higher order traffic issue that residents have discussed in the past as well, in relation to the number of vehicles.
Stony Creek Road.
Mainly the number of vehicles on Oxley Highway and the current issues that are faced, and the perception that this project will obviously have a higher number of
more traffic
demand. Exactly. So our project requires us to consider the impacts to the adjacent intersections and arterial roads, which we have, which is a resulting roundabout for those turning movements to make sure they're carried out in a safe manner, and also not impacting the efficiency of the arterial route. In terms of the Oxley Highway and upgrades to the Oxley Highway, that's a state-owned and state asset, so managed by Transport for New South Wales, formerly RMS. And they're aware of the growth in the area and the traffic concerns. I'm not aware of any major upgrades proposed, but that's not to say that there aren't any. Their strategic planning and long-term planning would be looking at those kind of things based on the growth that our region is seeing.
Yes. Michael has asked on Facebook, if council can't procure additional funding, which I assume is government grants, will they still proceed with the start of stage 1 next year?
That's another good question. So obviously there's a lot of money that needs to be found for these projects. There's an opportunity for us to utilise Section 11 funding for this project as well. Which
and Section 11 funding is
developer contributions. So developer contributions will contribute significantly to the project, and council will be looking for other funding sources such as grants and future budgets.
Brendan's also asked, is there a rugby field that has a synthetic cricket pitch in the middle of it?
No. So... Oh, apologies. Yes, there is. Up in at the top, the northern field, there is.
There's one up there, is there? Okay. Another question that we've received is, will the fields be in use 7 days a week throughout the day and night?
That's the plan. We're planning to utilise the fields as much as we can, provide opportunities for events, provide opportunities for training. We are looking to use them at night as well, where we can. Similar to some of our other fields as well.
Which I guess leads to the question of, what time would games be allowed to be played to, thinking about the surrounding residents and how that may impact on them. What could they be expecting?
Yeah, definitely. So we have current facilities which extend their periods of play up to around about 10 o'clock at night. So that could be an expectation of these fields as well.
Okay. Kyle's from Facebook is asking now, will this sporting field cater for skating for roller derby practice? There's not much around for roller derby. We need a skating rink to practice on.
So unfortunately not this indoor facility, not for roller derby. This will be a synthetic slab on ground construction. There's currently roller derby, I believe, being played out of the Cameron Street indoor facility that we have down there at the moment. So there's no plans for roller derby, unfortunately, at this stage.
Okay. The Premier Field is designed to attract out-of-region events like football. How frequently do you think these sorts of games would be occurring?
Yeah, we're unsure at the moment. It's very early days in terms of attracting major events without the infrastructure. We have been talking with the fact that if we were to be able to attract up to 6, being bi-monthly, major events to this site, that would most likely exceed our expectations. So it's not something we'd be looking for something every weekend. I don't think we'd be able to get that anyway, even if we wanted it. But something a bit more realistic would be 4 to 6 major events per year.
And how will the facility, deal with major events? It's one thing to have your Saturday and Sunday games, but, when you're anticipating a major gala, event, then from a traffic point of view, and facilities point of view, how will the facility cope?
It's a great question. So that definitely is a lot of planning that happens around those major events for months in advance in terms of management of traffic, facilities, as you say, and connectivity into the more permanent works that are there. Also temporary fencing and catering as well for some of those events. And a lot of those things are temporary that are brought in. It's too much to design permanent facilities to cater for 4 to 6 events per year. In terms of parking as well, there's obviously no opportunity for parking around the site outside of the footprint, which is why we've provided a lot of formal parking. Down in the western corner, we've allowed for some overflow parking there, which is an additional 150 odd car spaces we'll be able to fit into there. But also we've provided some bus drop-off bays in there as well to allow for, in those major events, people to park out at different areas within, say, Port Macquarie or Wauchope and then be shuttled in.
A bit like we see at Toughens Lane during
That's right.
Touch
Exactly.
Cup. This is probably a great question. You know, when we're talking about major events, what's the maximum capacity at the facility and how many people do you expect to use the fields at any one time?
It's a great question. I don't have that on hand. I vaguely recall 1,400 participants when all junior fields are in use, being the most number of spectators plus people using the fields and the smallest fields as well.
Yep. And how many people will the stadium hold? The grandstand.
The grandstand.
Sorry.
So the grandstand would be something in the order of 500 people capacity for that facility.
And how does that compare to the size, just so people have a bit of an idea, the size of the Port Macquarie grandstand out near the airport?
The grandstand down at Boundary Street there, that caters for 1,000.
Okay, it's just a good comparative size. What about other major events, you know, such as festivals and concerts? Could they be held at this facility?
So we've considered that as well as great opportunities for people bumping in and out for ag days and things like that too. So it's definitely on the cards, definitely an opportunity. It's going to be a great facility and definitely will be catered for those events too.
Yep, great opportunity for the Wauchope community to bring those sorts of events into town.
Definitely.
One question that we have heard a few times, you know, people are particularly interested in, you know, Wauchope is warmer than Port Macquarie quite often, and, you know, what sort of shade will be provided at the facility?
Yeah, no, it's a really good one as well. We've tried to, as you can see on those landscaping plans, there's a lot of opportunities for plantings of trees around the perimeter of the fields. We've also allowed for space around the fields, which is why there's a lot of those different lines on the plans. It's offsets for a runoff and then another 5 metre offset for a spectator viewing area. So there's opportunities for in those areas to provide some temporary shade facilities too.
Yep.
The trees, obviously, we're unable to bring those too close to the fields because then it interacts with the water retention in the fields and the drainage and things like that. So we've tried to provide as much planting as possible to alleviate some of those issues.
Fantastic. Mervyn is asking on Facebook, what toilet, change room and canteen facilities will be available throughout the various stages of construction? So I guess this is going back to the 1, 2, 3, 4 stages of construction that we're expecting.
Yeah, so in stage 1, we're proposing to install the centre amenities block. That one will have a number of toilets and some storage for maintenance, but it's not proposed to have a canteen facility as part of that. That's not to say that we can't set up a temporary facility until other elements within the site are constructed. The Centre of Excellence, which comes on in stage 2, that's yet to be completed in terms of a layout and design and inclusions. We're working on that as we speak in the background. That's very likely to have at least a kiosk or an opportunity for people to come in and cater within there, at least a canteen facility. And then the grandstand will most likely have a full-blown kitchen with opportunities there for catering too. There's a small amenities block which comes in stage 3 as well, but that's only just toilets and amenities there.
Okay. Dean Russell has asked, in the concept plans, what is the indicative car parking capacity?
In in the formal car parking spaces, so those ones shown as grey, there's around about 600 regular car spaces and about 20 disabled car spaces. And then informal, around the southwestern corner of the site, there's around about another 150 that will fit in there.
Okay. Simon is now asking, is there any I can't even talk now, preliminary designs on the playable floor area of the indoor centre? Will the surface finish be able to accommodate indoor hockey?
I'm not familiar with what indoor hockey plays on, but it's most likely going to be a solid concrete construction with a synthetic floor able to be utilised for a range of sports.
Okay. And Dean Russell is asking, in the concept plan, there appears to be 19 touch football playing fields. Can you advise the metre spacing between the fields? That's a nitty-gritty detail one for you.
No, that's good. We considered that right from the get-go, actually, in laying out these fields and everything around them. So we've allowed for a 5 metre runoff and then a 5 metre spectator area around all of those fields so that you have that buffer to enable the games to be played side by side and they're not sitting on top of each other.
So that's 10 metres between the fields?
In some cases, there's 15 when they're side by side. So they have the 2 runoffs on both sides and then 5 metres in the middle.
For the spectators. Fantastic. And another question he's sent in is, can you advise the square meterage available for tent infrastructure for mass participation events with regards to safety protocols from the fields?
Mate, no, I can't at this stage, but...
might need to take that one on notice and come back.
There's the 5 metre buffer between all of the fields that would be in use.
Yep.
When you have, say, for example, the football fields in use, there's a much larger buffer because of the overlay of the touch football. Touch football is definitely the most dense, and there's different opportunities to have different layouts as well. And then cricket, again, has a very large buffer between the fields too. So depending on which time of the year you look at, then there will be different buffers for those different sporting codes.
Yeah. Not sure if this is a question for you, Michael, or for Melissa. How much will the project cost and how will it be funded?
Very good question. Thank you.
Money.
Yeah, lots of money. It is a significant project. At the moment, our estimates are around about $30 million plus.
Goodness.
Which is a very large project for us. And it's a significant project for the community. Funding, we will look for funding from all sources, whether it's grant funding, whether it's additional allocations from council's revenue, whether it's developer contributions, donations, however we can get the funding to actually provide for a sustainable, financially feasible development. That's what we'll be doing.
Yes, but stage 1 we have funding for?
Parts of stage 1.
So
we've got the $2 million available already for the commencement of stage 1. But as we indicated earlier, that could be upwards of $10 million for stage 1. So there is additional funding to be sought, and we'll be looking for grants for that money.
Yes, it's definitely a challenge. This is a great question from an amenity point of view. Can you tell us a little bit more about what landscaping tree species will be planted? And I think we have something in the master plan that we should be able to put up on screen.
Yeah, we've had a lot of interest from the community around the proposed landscaping, and what we're proposing is a lot of natives and endemic species to the area. There's a bit of an example of a range of those species in that master plan that we've provided, so people can refer to those to understand what we're looking at there.
Fantastic. And I mean, apart from, obviously they provide shade, will it provide any, is there benefits for the surrounding residents with the types of trees that you're planting?
In terms of screening, that's what we're looking for, especially in that northern boundary there.
Yeah, fantastic. Chrissy Mack is asking, will the speed zone of 100 kilometres on Stony Creek Road be reduced? And if so, at what point of the road would this occur?
Yeah, so as part of the stage 1, there will be a reduction to 80 kilometres an hour, and that'll be on the northern side of Princess Avenue down to the intersection. And then once we get a higher demand for the facility through stage 3, then there's opportunities for that to be reduced further. speed zones are controlled by Transport for New South Wales as well, regardless of ownership of the road. So we need to consult with Transport for New South Wales regarding any speed changes for either the Oxley Highway or council managed roads, which we have been through the development of the design as well.
Fantastic. Well, it looks to me that we're at the end of our questions that we've received. So I think it's time to wrap up unless we've got anything further that we might like to add.
I'd just encourage the community to get in and ask the questions. The more information we have and desires of the community, the better the ultimate design will be. So it's really important that we hear what people say.
And I think they've been, instrumental and fantastic in the feedback that we've received so far, making sure that we can build a facility that is reflective of the community and the sporting community that are going to be using it. So from here, I'd just like to say that if you've come in late or if you think of further questions, please revisit this post and ask those questions. We'll respond to all questions and any that we haven't got to today. We'd also encourage you to share this session with anyone that you think might be of interest in the project. It might be people from your cricket club or maybe the touch football club or people that live in Wauchope and the local businesses. They may have been unaware of the session and unable to attend today, so please share it with them. As always, as Melissa said, we're really interested in hearing what you've got to say, so please check the website for opportunities to have your say on this project and also many more. And that's it for today. I'd like to thank Michael and Melissa for joining me, and we'll see you at our next Facebook Live Q&A.